my app, which is a legal app, which is called Willoughby Genius.
Which is very good. I like to add.
Thank you. It's not me calling myself a genius. Okay, that was a joke. Right. It's called Willoughby Genius, and the last time we were here, I was talking about a new app, which is sort of a bolt-on called Pixbusters, which is all to do with the facial recognition and about Pix, P-I-X. No, Pixbusters, which is all about facial recognition and about how to obviously stop the DSAR process, etc., and to try and deal with companies that are taking your photos and using it for no apparent reason. Some of them are, supermarkets and shops like that are all saying it's to do with security and stop shoplifting. If you can tell me the last time that any of you were walking down the road and you saw someone stealing a 4'6" mattress from Green's beds, right, for shoplifting, it's completely beyond me. Or who would want to go to Costa Coffee, and steal something from there? I mean, what can you steal other than a settee? Yeah, it's just complete nonsense. So we started talking about the trying to deal with the facial recognition side, and I started to look into it a bit more deeper. First of all, with the Pixbusters, we were just doing it from the point of view of doing the DSARs to basically make some of the supermarkets and businesses out there basically become accountable to the fact that they've got our data. And then what I've then done was I started to look further and further into the data and into GDPR. And that's where I lost a lot more sleep. Right, basically what I found is that GDPR, well, basically is something which has been set up and we've all been bashed around with the head with it. Now, what I like to try and do, for any of you that have been used to the foundation course that I've put together on Discord, I like to try and turn the system around, right, and use it on them. So in other words, I know obviously there's lots of people here with all sorts of different ideas with regards to AI and different various groups, etc. I'm not going to be talking about any of that sort of thing. I'm trying to be, I try to use the system against them, and I don't think that there is any one particular right way of doing things. It's a number of things. It's like a toolbox. You need to have various tools for various jobs. Personally, I believe that what we're looking at is we need something which I believe in the idea of going down the trust road, but I don't think for many of us it's not the most ideal situation at the point in time, at the moment. I think there's other tools that we need as well to use in conjunction with it to make our situation stronger, to make our situation better. Obviously try and keep a few more pounds in your wallet and purses, etc., so you can afford to keep food on the table and obviously try and maintain your life, because they will do nothing more than trying to take every last penny out of your pocket. So what we're looking to try and do is obviously try and protect ourselves as well. Right, so what I started doing is when I started looking at the data issues, is that data is the new oil. And big companies are doing nothing more than obviously trying to sell your data, and obviously the fat cats. They're looking at more interested in just trying to sell your data, trade on your data, and basically lower yourself into submission with them. What I'm trying to do here is put together a system where people can understand how the system works, right, from that side, so you can actually fight against it and start to relieve and basically extract yourself from it. You can't extract yourself from it totally, because at the end of the day, we'd all like to say that we are all private people and we're living in the private, etc. But unless, that would mean you wouldn't have a bank account, it means that you wouldn't have mobile phones, you wouldn't be able to do a lot of things, right? And okay, some people can live like that, but the majority of us need that sort of element where we can still live in it, because we're not at that stage yet where we can completely extract ourselves from the situation, or the current situation that we're in, and we do need to have a bit of play on both sides. I think probably most of you can probably agree that's correct. Yeah. So basically, what I've done is I'm going to introduce you to John. Now, this is John. Basically, his friends basically told him that he can start to claim money back from GDPR breaches by dealing with DVLA, CRAs, which are credit reference agencies, insurance companies and banks, etc. Now, so what John has done is he's now getting busy creating all these DSARs and sending them out all over the place. But obviously, doing it this way and just, everyone can do DSARs themselves, and probably all of you, or most of you, have certainly done DSARs or SARs anyway on your own. But the problem is when you get the responses back, many of you don't know what to do with them. And I mean that in the nicest possible way. Okay, so here's John. He's now got all his DSARs back, and if anyone has done a DSAR with a credit reference agency like Equifax, Experian, etc., what you'll tend to find is you're given a nice wad of paper, and you probably don't know what it reads and what it means or what to do with it. And that's basically the case with everyone. Some of them then start to go to court in that sort of situation, and they're looking to try and press their advantage because they've, seen a couple of YouTube videos, they know a little bit about it, and they think that because they've, done like a few hours study on it, that they're all going to be Petrocelli, in a court situation, and they're going to take everyone to the cleaners. Sadly, that's not really the case. It doesn't really work that way. And if you're not properly prepared and you don't know what's going on, then you can end up in all sorts of trouble. Now, I'm not saying that everyone needs to be going to court. I'm not saying that people, should let everyone get away with everything like that. So it's a case of trying to find a middle ground. The way that we try and do things, the majority of it stays out of court anyway. Right, so basically, this is John once again, and what he's decided to do is he's decided to look at some online courses with regards to GDPR. Now, what I found when I started looking at the GDPR courses, they actually are all pretty rubbish, because what they're what they actually teach and what the areas that they cover are not practical for us. They normally come to sort of 4 areas. The first is, if you wanted to become a DPO, which is a data processing officer within a company, right, dealing with obviously data coming in, but that's actually a specific role. So therefore, you need to be qualified as a DPO, and there's obviously courses for that. There's also courses for because it goes into sort of like 4 areas. There's also courses for like middle management jobs where you're looking to try and keep the GDPR elements and keep your company compliant. The third role is for people who want to deal with the DSARs when they get them in the company. And the fourth role that you can find these training courses on for are for people who want to become an external external DPO. So in other words, if you've got a small company, you may not be able to afford to have a whole department dealing with data processing. So what you do is you go out to like an external company, and they will have like 10, 15, 20 people, companies, and they would actually deal with that. And sorry. Yeah. So basically, they'd have like 10, 15 companies, and you'd then be working with the one company that would actually deal with you externally. Now, if you're looking to try and protect yourself, none of these are really going to help you. So, what we did was we started to look for another way. Now, what we found was there isn't a single register out there. I know the word register, as soon as you say the word register, everyone's back starts going up saying, oh, no, don't register it away. It gives everything gets given away. I'm talking about the register as in, who is, are there any courses out there where people have actually, like a list of people that you can actually go to, right? There is no register for other than like sitting guilds, and even then, that's only like one element. There's no register of people that have done diplomas or anything like that in the country, let alone within the GDPR side. So what we've decided to try and do is actually build our own institute and also put together a diploma course so that, I know we're talking about, it's like every area that people have spoken about negatively today, I'm covering. Right, I'll be on to the Second World War in a bit as well.
We still love you, don't worry.
Right, and by the way, when I finish my talk today, if there's any area, please, that I haven't, offended, please let me know, yeah? Right. The idea of the course is actually not to be a course as it's just like a course for the sake of it. The idea of this is to actually empower people to understand, because we've all been battered with GDPR. Whenever you try and speak to a company, you say, well, how did you find my information out, or anything like that? Oh, no, I can't tell you this, can't tell you that, etc., etc., etc. Right? But if you actually understand how it works, you'll actually find that you've been given a great tool, and that is the reason why I got very, very passionate about this. And I can't remember who was it talking about getting up in the middle of the night, sort of 3, 4 o'clock in the morning. And was it yourself that was walking around, Alan? Yeah? Okay, well, I have a similar story. Quite a few nights, I get up and go to the kitchen table, and they're scribbling down, and that's not doing my best work, actually, because I don't smoke anymore. But no, it is basically, I get all the different ideas come to me, and then I start thinking, okay, that's going to work, etc. And I started planning all sorts of websites and everything, and I started drawing out the prototypes at that time in the morning. I've actually started timing and dating it, and we're actually keeping them all for posterity. But yeah, so putting together something called the WGI, which stands for Willoughby GDPR Institute. We're in the process now. I've built the training course. It is the training course itself is 12 modules at the moment. Each module contains 6 sections. Each section has got 10 questions for the exams before you move on to the next one. And each module then has another 20 questions before you can move on to the next one. So before you get to the end of the 12, you would have done 960 questions and answered it correctly, sort of thing, before you can move on. So basically everyone knows about it. Now, as opposed to the previous courses that there are available, this starts with telling you what the history of GDPR is, so you fully understand it from the early stages, how it affects you, what you can do with regards to creating and how to create an effective DSAR, what are the triggers that you can look for to detect breaches, and also, if you have detected breaches, what you could be looking to get back from those breaches by punishing them, and also how the whole system kind of works together. Yeah, and also if you are going to court to punish them or whatever, what the processes are, right? What the processes are for filing things, etc. Now we've done this in like a 2-stage area. Number 1 to 11, to 12, with the exception of number 5, is all about doing everything by sort of pen and paper. And then number 5 is basically where we give you a calculator. Because the reason why I've left number 5 out until the end is because if I was to turn around and say to you, what is 6 times 4, right? And here's a calculator, you press the number 6, and then you press the number, the times, and then you press the number 4, then the equals, and that's how you work out what 6 times 4 is. But if you haven't got a calculator, you don't know what you're doing. So by teaching you the times tables first, right, and understanding it that way, when you're then given the calculator, it just makes life easier. Yeah? So that's the reason why we've done it in that sort of stage. Now, since doing that, I've then worked out that we need another 3 modules, so it's going to be more work. But so far we've rolled it out like over a week now, and we've already got about 50 people who actually started the course, and a few of them have already actually finished it. Because they've been working through the nights, because a lot of them have been saying it's very, very addictive. And apparently, if you think that I've been standing on people's toes saying about various things today, I'm really popular with wives and stuff like that at home, because people have been spending more time doing the course and stuff than they have with their family. So Apologies. But yeah, basically with the course behind that, the idea is so that it's giving people an understanding on how to deal with things. Okay. Now basically, when you're looking at how your data has been abused and sold, you probably, well, how many of you here have got an AA or an RAC membership? Okay. Did you know that the little man in the van, which is yellow or orange, depending on which company, that is actually a bit of a lost leader these days. Actually, the bulk of their money is made, AA and RAC, from the insurance side and actually selling data. Right. Before I went to Gary and Maria's meeting last week, I started going through and doing some finding out some information about, you know, how many people can actually create, you know, decent DSAR claims with GDPR claims against people like DVLA, banks, etc. And we worked out DVLA is like 98% of people can actually make a claim against them. CRAs, you're looking at about 80-85%. Banks, it's virtually 95%. It's crazy, right? When you start to find out how people have been abusing you, etc., and your data, there is recourse there, and you can certainly pull some money back from it. I'm not saying that this is all about trying to be financial, but it is a point of if someone is making money from your name and from your life, do you not think you should be have some sort of say in it? Okay, well basically, when it comes to this, I'm not saying that this is going to be the start or the end of everything, but basically, if we're looking at heading down this road, this is going to be a step towards trying to get rid of the system, right? Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, it is. Okay, whatever. Basically, that's another toad. Yeah, I mean, basically, it is a work in progress, because obviously the people need to understand what they're doing, and the reason why when I put together the course and the software, I wanted to make sure that everyone was actually knows what they're doing with it, which is the reason why I stopped. And I was going to do it where everyone could just have it as you know, as part of the membership. You can just go on there and get it, and you will be able to get it like that through Willoughby membership anyway. But if you wanted to do it commercially, there's another arm as well that you could do, because once again, when you start to realise how easy it is to actually start to make claims and start to make some of these companies pay, I don't just mean that from the point of view of the financial aspect. I'm talking about turning the system around on each other. Right now, the other thing is also people who are in debt, people who've had bad credit records. Going through the GDPR system, it actually opens the doors to actually turn the whole system completely around. Many of the CCJs, defaults and stuff like that can not only be eradicated, but actually you can actually punish the companies that have done it for you, right? The areas of the you know, someone was saying earlier about having the bailiff standing at the door, knocking your door, etc. And you know, we were always doing things the other way, where you know, we were sending back letters saying, no, it's not me, I'm a different name, etc. And that was fine, because basically what it did was it gave us time, and it gave us a bit of breathing space and allowed us to try and move forward. However, what we're discovering now through the GDPR road is we have actually, rather than being the prey and them being the predators, if we use this correctly, we can actually become the predators, they are the prey. The worm is starting to turn now, right, and we're now starting to go after them, right, and basically their days are numbered. Sorry?
They're committing fraud and theft.
Completely. But what's really sweet about this is we're actually using their system against them.
Yeah.
And that's why I love it. I like that. Right, basically, comparison site. I mean, oh, it's a great one there. Right, how many of you have bought insurance on your car? Like 3 of you have bought it here, probably. Okay. People who bought insurance for their cars, right, or whatever, right, via comparison sites, yeah? Compare the market, go compare, etc. Right, if you're asking to pay for your insurance via monthly premiums, yeah, what normally happens is you get about 150 different quotes coming up, yeah? And you then look through those quotes and you then decide which one you want to go with, because which has got the best package for you. Okay, if you're looking at about 150 quotes there, if you actually look at your credit file as well at the same time, you'll actually realise that you've had 150 soft searches done on your name, which means that there's 150 paychecks there waiting for you. Right, that's the name one. Right, now I actually first discovered this back in the end of 24. I was looking for a new SLK. Now, every time the car, yeah, and every time I put the details in, right, I found that the insurance and the car tax and stuff was always either £400, always going up to £700. I couldn't work out why, because basically different models had different emissions things, so it fell into a different category. So the way that I worked at was basically by putting the car registration number into the insurance. So by putting the car registration number into the insurance, it was then I was going to get the right price. Now what I found out was, as I started looking through some of these and deciding which one to get, wasn't interested, etc., was end of 25, I was getting all of these emails from insurance companies about saying, like, you know, it's your time. It's time to get your insurance quote for the renewal on cars that I didn't own. Because I put it in, they thought, well, obviously he owns that car, right? So, you know, we'll hammer them again. Now, basically, they've kept my details, which is basically another data breach. Yeah. So all of these things are all areas that you can actually start to take back, because basically they've just been selling your details. Okay. These, obviously, some of these areas here are huge. You know, every time you get a parking ticket, every time you've been caught with your, back wheels in yellow boxes in a junction, every time you've been caught driving in a bus lane for 20 yards, right? The council have got in contact with you, and they're obviously trying to punish you and trying to charge you. Okay, well basically what they've done is they've gone to the DVLA. The DVLA have sold for £2.50 your details, right, and that's how they've got in contact with you. Now basically what we can do is every time DVLA sell your details, they are meant to let you know that they have sold it. When was the last time someone got an email or a letter from DVLA saying that they've had their details sold? Never. When have you had your insurance done? When did you have 150 emails come from the insurance company saying, oh, by the way, all these companies did soft searches? Never. Right, so all these companies, right, have been up to all sorts of things, and it's crazy. So basically what we need to do is we need to start hitting back, and we need to start fighting back. Okay, this is a classic one here. Now, what we found is that by going through the GDPR road, right, it's opened up all sorts of doors, right, because by doing the GDPR road and doing the DSARs, what we're actually doing is we're actually looking into these companies, looking into the paper trail, and looking into how they've done these things and who's actually responsible for what. Right, so here's a quick classic example. Right, so you've got an original creditor. So let's say Gerald here has gone to, he's got a Barclays card or whatever, and let's say he's earned up with a £5,000 debt, and for whatever reason Gerald can't pay it. Right, so what Gerald's done is he said, oh, I can't do anything, so he's got worried. Now, Barclays card have then said to Gerald, okay, well, as you can't pay that debt, I'm now going to give you a CCJ or a default or whatever. Right, which now means that his credit is now affected. Now, what they then do is they sell that normally to companies like Lowell's Portfolio. Now, some of you probably heard of Lowell's, but most of you probably have never heard of Lowell's Portfolio. Lowell's Portfolio is the sort of holding company, or if those of you have heard of Marsden's, you've probably heard of Marsden's Holdings, which is one company, but the people who come to your door is Marsden's Collections or Marsden's Recovery. In a similar way, when you have something like Lowell's Portfolio 1 is the company that normally has all the debts from Barclaycards, and then the ones who come to your door is like either Lowell's Recovery or Collections or whatever they're called. Yeah. Now the problem with that is the debt collectors, Lowell's Collections, can't collect the debt. Let me say that again. They have no power to collect the debt, right, from Gerald. The reason being is because they don't own the deed of assignment. Right, the deed of assignment is actually owed with Lowell's Portfolio 1. Now, what we could do with this when I first looked at this, I thought, well, this is very, very powerful, because it means then that, you know, we can stop a lot of the cases where people are frightened because they've had run into all sorts of problems, and they've now got debt collectors calling on them. How are they going to deal with them? So, this could be a good way of trying to deal with it. But then I started looking into it further, and started saying, okay, well, hang on a second, what if we push back further? And don't just sort of use this as a defence, let's actually go on the attack. Because what we actually do here is when we've actually using, I'm going to use a bad word now, AI. Okay. Now, with Willoughby, within the Willoughby unit, which is Data Busters, which is dedicated to this area, there is, when we ask for a DSAR, the response, which is data subject to access request basically, normally you get a wad of papers and you don't know what to do with it. The way that we ask for it is we ask for it in either a CSV or a JSON file. In other words, in a file that can be read by a computer. Now they have to do this. Now I had wonderful fun with Equifax the other day when I asked for one, and the emails kept on coming back saying, oh, we'll post it out to you. I said, that's not what I've asked for. I've asked for it in the correct way, which means I want it in a computer-read file, either CSV or JSON file, which is like a different format. And they said, oh no, we only either send it to you in a PDF or we'll post it. And I said, well, that's basically a data breach, because there's something called portability of data under the GDPR, which means if you ask for it in a computer file, they have to oblige you. Right? So I had them recorded on the phone, and I then sent them an email and said, okay, I'm now going to be prosecuting you because you are now, breaking, you've done a GDPR breach immediately just on that alone, let alone anything else. So, they've now decided to try and do something. They'll send me a computer file.
Why is it a breach?
Why?
If they send a PDF?
Because it's not if you've requested it to be under something called the Portability of Data Act, right, within the GDPR, right, if you ask for it to be sent to you in a computer file, that's not a PDF, so a computer can read it, they have to do that. That's part of the rules.
Oh, just so, okay, got it. They're just breaking their own rules.
Yeah?
Okay, yeah.
Completely. Now, when you get the file,
But could it potentially give different information as well, or what an expanded information than you might get as PDF?
well, no, you will get more information normally than you will with a standard PDF normally, anyway, because what it does is it shows you pretty much the whole thing.
Yeah.
Because normally they trim it down
Yeah.
to get it into a PDF.
So it's a bigger file.
It is a bigger file.
More comprehensive.
It's not only more comprehensive, but it's an easier format to deal with, because when you normally get that ream of paper from Equifax, Experian, or TransUnion, that you're really looking at it, you don't know what to do with it. You just basically press the upload button to Willoughby, and he'll get it into him, and then you press the analyse button, and he analyses it and tells you and identifies all the data breaches there, all the stuff that's missing. Right? I mean, when a company holds your details, what happens is if they decide that, sorry. Oh, sorry. Right. If they're holding your details and they come back to you, say like in 12 months, like with the insurance, etc., that was a breach, because obviously they shouldn't have been doing that. Right now, if you tell them, hang a second, who gave you the authorization, they've got to do something called a balancing test. Now, if someone had said to me a few months ago, what's a balancing test, I would have said it's something to do with your wheels on your car. Right? But basically, a balancing test is when they actually have to weigh up legitimate business interest with your personal rights, and they have to document this. Now, most cases they don't do this. Most times Equifax or whoever will turn around and say that they pass the details onto a credit company and don't actually name it. These are all issues. Now, the thing is, when you look at it, you don't really know what you're looking at, but and then especially if the information is missing. Right, so basically, you don't need to know all of the ins and outs of it, because Willoughby will actually do that for you. This is where we're actually using AI for the good, because we're using it against them. Now, when you start doing this and you start pushing through this, you'll actually find that you're in a much better position than you actually thought you were. Now, this whole situation, right, was originally started with Pixbusters, which is Gary and Rhea was saying that they wanted to try and deal with the facial recognition, right? And I was looking at it from the point of view of the company part with the ID verification, right? And all these sort of different areas to try and deal with it, which is what got me on that sort of way of thinking. And then when I started looking a little bit deeper, that's when everything started to come out. Now, obviously, Rhea was saying that she knew of someone who's actually already earned £3,800 from this, right? When I was talking about it with my group, there's people in my group who've already earned hundreds of pounds with this, and they don't even know what they were doing. They were just doing it by pen and paper. Now, when everything is automated, right, so it's actually going to do everything in the correct way, and it's going to be done it in the correct form, right, it's just going to make life a hell of a lot easier. And that's what we've built with Databusters. So not only will it actually analyse everything, but will actually start to find all the flaws in their system.
So that's in hard data, right? What about when it's biometrics? When it's biometrics and other personal data, like facial recognition. Obviously, that's data that you're talking about held between insurance companies, banks, or whatever.
Yeah.
But what about when it's biometrics?
As in what, fingerprints, facial, etc.?
Yeah, facial,
Okay, well,
airports,
okay.
everything, eyes,
Okay.
all of that.
That's nothing to do with Databusters.
That's Pixbusters.
That's Pixbusters. It's different software altogether, where we actually send DSARs out to the company and say, you've got my details here, why have you got it, how long are you keeping it for what purposes, and have you sold it to anyone?
Yeah, so Pixbusters won't give you that whole process.
No, Pixbusters can't give you the financial breakdown because there is no financial breakdown. But what I'm saying is all they're going to do is tell you who they've sold it to, if they have sold it.
I get that, but the bit that I'm interested in, the bit I'm interested in is biometrics, all of that data, facial recognition, all of that. Where does that go? How long is that retained, and how can you actually?
Okay, well, it's not with Databusters because this is nothing to do with Databusters. This is to do with the GDPR side from the data that's being sold from you from the point of view of your.
I thought you did both.
No, the Pixbusters is the facial recognition, which is a different software. All that does is it provides you with the ability to go to the company and it'll actually generate a DSAR for you, requesting information about what they're doing with that details, have they sold it, how long they intend to keep it, etc.
So there's not an automatic breach that you would define in that system for them holding it beyond what they promised was?
Well, no, because it works slightly differently on that side. It's not as cut and shut as it is with the financial side, with your name, etc. Okay? Right. Okay, right, so basically that's how that works and what Willoughby actually does for you. As it analyses it, it's looking for all the breaches that's there using that system. Now, it's actually, we are about under a week away from that being released to our people who actually done the course to find out how to use it. The reason being is because as it starts to go through with the course, I didn't want people not knowing what to do with the information, how to use it, and finding out that they're in trouble. That's why I've done it that way. Okay. And obviously there's the commercial side. What we have is also a commercial side if people wanted to do this for other members of their family or their friends, they can do it also. I'm not going to talk about the financials with that, but obviously it's quite beneficial for people who are now looking at that, finding that as a better way or another way of running their situation at the moment, because they can actually work less hours and a bit more money and also be spending more time with their family, which is what they really wanted.
One quick question. Wouldn't a quick way for them to shut us down from all this process, is to put it in the small print, you agree to our data being, whatever.
They can try that, but the problem is the companies are now so big, right, into the data, right, such as the likes of the AA, RAC, etc., right, that their model is now completely changed, right, and the thing is, it's actually going to get harder for them to do this.
But they're building data centres.
Yeah.
Data centres, so they anticipate a rolling machine going just like all the they know they're going to keep going.
Okay, but the bottom line is, right, at the moment, we're in a situation where if we utilise this and we jump on board with this and we start to activate it, right, what's happening is we're actually going to start to make some sort of a dent in their operation at the moment. It's not about, this isn't going to be a situation where just because the data buses, all of a sudden, everything is now fixed overnight. Right, we know that they're going to try and change things, and when they try and change things, we'll adapt accordingly, right, to try and make it stronger, right, and obviously try and find another route, right. There is no one sort of size fits all, right, and there never will be, right. And I know that their systems, what they're looking to try and do, especially when you're looking at legislation, they're always looking to try and find the way that works best for them. Right, but the thing is, we have to try and make a stand today. We have to try and make a stand now and start fighting against them. Right, and it's the only way that you can actually try and do this. Right, doing it through the normal road, obviously, we'll try this. Maybe we can do that in a little bit of time further down the road. Maybe something will happen or whatever. Yeah, but I mean, at the moment, today, people are making thousands of pounds. I mean, what we found out. Right, I mean, I've got this, when it's looking at the information, it's not just pulling AI, pulling out numbers from here, there and everywhere, right, and, it's hallucinating and things like that. I've actually downloaded over 5,000 files, right, to do with GDPR breaches, right, and it's pulling directly from there, it's pulling from case files, it's pulling from ICO source files, so you've got the legal precedents, right, as well, and what it's doing is it's actually pulling it from hard figures and hard facts. Now, the benefit of that is, as it's starting to do that, right, it's empowering us because it's helping us all to try and fight back from where we are today.
I think this as a monetizing for the ordinary people that aren't on our wavelength is a great thing, because they think it's a bit of money to do something like this. They'll all jump on it, which then helps us.
Exactly. Now, I'm not going to go into the monetary side of things, because I know obviously most of you aren't here to try and make a few quid, right? It's not about that, right? Because at the end of the day, it's all to try and bring the system down. However, what we have found is that £5,000 is the average, right, from what we've seen with the actual GDPR claims, right, £5,000 is the average sort of size of the claim, right, that people have been awarding so far, right.
Every year. They can get this every year.
And by the way, you can do it every year as well.
This is every year.
Now, what we found is, right, doing this, if you're only doing, right, 10 people a month, right, 10 customers a month, right, and with one case only, right, I mean, obviously if you're looking at insurance and stuff like that and DVLA, these are all different cases. I'm talking one case, one person, right, so you've got 10 people a month or whatever, right, the figures, right, are huge. They really are, but we're not going to go into money.
May I just say something as well that Charlie's missed here, is the fact that I'm with Dee Dee, that I was thinking, well, how are they going to shut this down? How are they going to stop this happening? How are they going to build another loophole within a loophole? But basically what Charles told me, and I had no idea, is that they're meant to notice you every single time they sell your data, so that these loopholes are actually to cover themselves. They have to leave them there to keep themselves safe. So we just exploit it. It's just another way of exploiting their system.
Another thing which is also right. Another thing which was also huge that we found out is you know, I said about the dealing with the banks, etc., where we have, you know, the Marston's Holdings, etc., and the individual ones. This is what we found. I said about us going on the attack and being the predator rather than us being the prey and them being the predator. Right, it's very, very simple, right? Marston's collections come to Gerald and say, okay, you know, we've got, sorry, picking in Gerald, poor right, poor old Gerald, right, it's Badenfield, right, Marston's have come round and they've tried to collect from him, right, but they can't hit, you know, they can't actually do this because Marston's don't hold the deed of assignment. Now, basically, there is case law which proves that these companies use the two company or the shell company setup, which means if you try and sue the company, they'll turn around and say, we're Marston's Holdings, we're not Marston's Recovery, right? That's a tiny little company over there, so if you want to sue someone, you sue them. You know, we're the ones, and we're the ones with the deed of assignment, right? So, you know, it's got nothing to do with us, right? So because they've already got that, when you know, they can't have it both ways. Yeah. So basically, what you can then do is you turn it round, right? Now, first of all, that's going to be a good sort of defence sort of side to it. But as I said, we need to become the predators and no longer remain the prey. And this is how we do this. Once we've actually got the correct DSARs gone through and we've analysed this and we know that there's been the breaches there and we've proved it, etc., immediately what we can do is Gerald over here, let's go back to the Barclay card sort of thing. I know he's got loads of debts, this chap. Right, so right, so let's say it was the Barclay card thing, yeah? Well, first of all, what we've done is we've already ascertained that the debt, right, it was originally done through Barclay card and it was then passed on to Lowell's, right, Lowell's portfolio, and then it was Lowell's that came to see you. Well, first of all, because Lowell's recovery came to you, right, first of all, where did they get your details from? They got it from Lowell's portfolio. Did Lowell's portfolio tell you that they were selling their details over to the other company? No. Right, so that's a data breach. Right, so you can start to hammer both of the companies together. One for trying to you know, do a vexatious claim because they don't have the actual rights to it, because they don't own the deed. Right, it's like, you know, say for argument's sake, Lucy, right, Lucy is owed £50 from you, and I just turn up and say, okay, well, I'm here to collect Lucy's money, and you then turn around and say, well, did Lucy give you a certificate or something to say, yeah, you know, say that, you know, there's, you know, I've got the right to do it, and I say, no, well, you can turn around and say, bugger off then, you know, it's got nothing to do with that, right, and it's the same thing, right? Now, that's first of all, you can do that, so you've hit them, you can hit the holding company, then, once you've got that, and you've already ascertained that the holding company is the one that actually has the deed of assignment, Barclay card, who have already registered a default or a CCJ against you, you don't owe them the money because they've sold it, which means that your credit record can now be cleaned. Right? Now, because they can do that and they can actually clean it, right, it means that the CRAs, the credit reference agencies, right, have all been holding bogus information, which means you can hammer them as well, because all the CRAs, right, their job, each one of them have got their own GDPR departments, which means if I decide that I want to put a CCJ on Lucy, for argument's sake, they'll quite happily take my money and they'll apply it, yeah? She owes that money now. Right, but the thing is, what they're supposed to do is they're actually using their own GDPR department is actually to go through the paperwork and to prove that that person does actually owe the money to that company and that company does actually own the debt, but they don't. Which means Equifax, Experian, TransUnion could all be hit as well. So these companies that were making your life misery, right, because they've been, you know, showing you the bad credit, etc., right, we're now taking the fight to them. Right, so all of this actually does work. right? And we're starting to build it, and it's going to be only literally probably within the next month or so, we're going to start to see some real tangible wins from this. We've already had small wins, right, where people didn't even know what they were doing. Now we've started to automate it, we've actually put some power behind it, right? We're going to be, you know, we've already got 50 odd people, right, that are actually studying on the course at the moment, right? You know, there's going to be more and more coming on, because as soon as people start sniffing money, you know, it's probably is what you're saying, you know, people will start jumping on board. Right, because the thing is, if I turn around and said to you, right, have you made a GDPR claim yet? And you probably turn around and say, no, I didn't know I could. Yeah. Unlike the PPI one, we can only do it once. With this, it's an ongoing thing. You can do it year after year. Now the thing is, once you've actually done this, right, and you actually got a few customers, etc., that's all you need to do. Right, and the thing is, you know, you're looking at trying to get this back, you know, year after year after year, right? But the thing is, it won't probably go on for so long, because hopefully it's going to start to have issues and start to collapse the system. Yogi?
Yeah, would it be a good idea to maybe, like say Martin Lewis, you know, the money supermarket, etc., those type of, you know, organisations, to actually get it to them?
Money supermarket, brilliant idea, fantastic, excellent.
No, I mean,
you know
to
why?
get it in the public eye that way.
No, you know why? Because they're the ones, right, who are the comparison sites, and they're the ones who are doing it.
They have one, yeah, sure they have one.
Here's a bit of fire, let me put some petrol on it.
What's his name? Martin, whatever.
Right, because that's exactly what you're doing.
Find its own way though, Yogi.
Martin Lewis isn't doing anything to help the people.
This is.
No, if you want to try and accelerate things.
No, it's not going to work like that. The best way for it to work is for people to actually realise that they can actually fight back. When they start to fight back and they can put money in their pocket, food on the table, right, they can make their situation better, more tolerable for their family, and actually spend more time with their family, rather than having to do 60, 70, 80 hours a week, slogging their nuts off, excuse my French, right, to, you know, make the family situation more tolerable, right. This could actually be one of the ways that actually helps. I'm not saying it's going to be the end situation. You know, this is not something that I've created here. That's going to be the answer to everyone's situation. However, what it can do is it can certainly ease a lot of suffering for people, put money in people's pockets, food on their table, right, and help them start to fight the good fight. And the more people start to fight the good fight, the more people will actually realise, the more people will start to realise, right, that, you know, they've been wrong for so long.
A parking ticket from a council.
Love them.
Yeah, okay.
Love it.
One of our lovely ladies, she's a 80s and she's coming up, and she said I left it and ended up paying £400 to the collection agent. So where can she go back now?
How long?
Recent, just 2 weeks ago.
Perfect.
So obviously the DVLA sold the number.
£2.50.
To them, they're involved. Council.
Yeah.
Then obviously sold the debt on.
Yeah.
So that's the chain there as well.
Yeah.
Big time. Because
Who did the council sell it to?
To the whatever the collection agency is.
No, they probably sold it to a holding company, which
okay,
means
fine.
that there is that situation going on there.
Yeah. So I need to find the holding company that they sold it to.
The correct DSAR process is what you need.
Sorry, Charles.
Okay.
Can you
Awesome, you have an answer for everything, Charles.
can you stop?
Thank you.
Charles, can you, with council tax, for example, can it be stopped before the company gets, anyone having problems? Yes.
There you go. Oh,
Can it be
dear.
stopped
Council tax, same thing, right? Basically, if you got council tax itself, right? Basically, if you go to the council and turn around and say, I don't owe any money for the council tax, you'll be saying till you're blue in the face, I don't owe the money. They'll be saying till they're blue in the face, yes you do. Don't have the argument. Save your time, save the energy, right, and save the phone call. Don't bother, right? Because what's the council going to do? They can't do anything. All they can do is get in contact with a debt collector. Now, as soon as the debt collector comes round, they say, hi, we're from Marston's, we'd like to give you some money. Right? So take it. Yeah? Unless you want to argue with the council for no reason at all, right? Wayne Leighton, great guy. Love the ground that the guy's done. What he's done is perfect, right? Obviously, and every time he tries to move forward, they pull the rug out from under his feet, right? Yeah, right. Because they can't admit that they're wrong, right? And he's upset them so many times, it's brilliant.
They don't pull the rug, they move the goalpost.
Yeah, well,
They're very different.
yeah, okay, but basically what I'm saying is, the situation is, yes, don't deal with the council, just deal with the bailiffs.
Right.
Right,
When you get
but
that.
the difference is, right, what we're trying to teach is, right, you're not going to be we haven't had David's training, right, we haven't, done the degree course. I'm not saying to anyone to become a solicitor or a barrister, right, because what we've actually found here is, right, here's the idea of the, if you can get a pot here. Obviously the eye's showing the different companies, right, this is basically what we've looked at and found pretty quickly, right. Yes you can, or better still, what we've actually got is, I've got some cards, right, now last time I gave out some NFC cards, which are near field communication cards, but I've also got another card today which has got a QR code and the web address for the WGI, which you're more than welcome if you go to Wendy or myself, whatever. You're welcome to have cards so you can share it out. Yeah, and all the information will be on there. And also, if you want to know one of my cards as well, right? And if you look on there, or use the NFC one, look at the last video on there. I've actually gone through this in all detail, so you can actually freeze it. We're actually on Rumble now. We've been kicked off YouTube. I know. I mean, we've been banned from everywhere. Now it's I'm feeling really heartbroken because we've lost YouTube. I mean, that one, to be quite honest, was probably my fault because.
You spoke freely.
No, it's not that. I mean, the last video that I put up on YouTube before they closed our account was when I did a video about the Freemasons and Knights Templar. Well, the difference is, well, basically, there's lots of videos out there about Freemasons and the Masons, right, and what they do, etc. There's also videos about the Knights Templar. However, there's very few videos out there from someone who is actually a Knights Templar, a Freemason, and Holy Royal Arch, and also a director of a Masonic Centre, who actually showed his certificates and his aprons and stuff like that on there. So I actually brought receipts, and that's why I didn't like it. But anyway, sorry.
My scenario was with Marston's,
yeah.
And it was Marston's Recovery that basically came to my house.
Yeah.
It was for a Dartford £2.50 Dartford Tunnel charge, and as soon as I saw the truck outside, ready to go, my car to go on there, I ran outside in my dressing gown and sat in my car.
Yeah.
They then got the police involved, so and actually it was the police that took over.
Yeah.
They became the enforcers,
Brilliant.
which they shouldn't have done.
Fantastic.
I'm now gone through the whole process of taking them to court, and it got dismissed, but I did an appeal and all of that still going on a year or so later. So with your scenario, would I go after the Dartford Tunnel?
Well, basically, what I would have done
police?
in that sort of situation would have been this. Obviously, this is, after the milk's been spilled, yeah. But first of all, if the police turned up, the first thing I'd say to them is, let's say you've got two people here, you two are the police. Right, so you're the one, Gerald here is the one who's talking to me, right, and, so I don't know your name. Sorry. Who? This lovely lady is with Gerald, right, as a lady policewoman, right. The first thing I would turn around and say is, okay, Mr. Marsden's or whatever, just wait for a second while I deal with the police. Okay, right, Gerald, I assume, first of all, I'd like to take your details down, so I want your, obviously, shoulder number, name, which station, etc., that you're attached to, yeah? Now, the next thing I'd like to do is actually just clarify with you, and obviously in front of the cameras, because we've got cameras at home, right, that you're here today only to prevent a breach of the peace because there's a civil issue between this man's company and my company. Is that correct? Yes. Perfect, thank you. Now, what I'd like to do in that case is I'd actually like to give you a caution. Now, the caution is this. Basically, section 26 under subsection 4, right, should you decide to act outside of your authority to the benefit of this man's company and to the detriment of me, right, I'm going to be prosecuting you in 3 different ways. The first way is through the OPC, which is the Complaints Department of the Police. The second way is through CPS, which carries a term of 14 years maximum penalty. And the third way is the civil claims. I'm going to be coming after your pension as well. Right, should you actually behave that way? Now, is that clear? Do you understand? Yeah? Okay. Now, young lady, Janita, sorry. You're obviously here, I know we haven't introduced, but obviously I'm going to give you a similar caution, but this time, because he was the one who was talking to me, I'm going to actually caution you under subsection 6. Which is, should you witness that Gerald is acting outside of his authority to the benefit of this man's company and to the detriment of myself, I'm going to expect you to be prosecuting him, right, for acting outside of his authority under subsection 6 of section 26. Should you fail to do this, right, I'm going to be prosecuting you as well, right, on the same rules, right, on the 3 occasions. Do you understand?
Yeah, I can't wait for you to do it.
Right, now at that point, normally what happens is the police are gelded. If they're not, you're in for a big paycheck, right? And that's basically what would have happened with me. I've had the issue with the police, don't want to know me, right? But certainly with the bailiffs. We've had the bailiffs to our house 3 times, and all 3 times they've left empty-handed with nothing. Right, and they were all to do with parking issues or speeding or Dartford Tunnel.
Certain things that you said were said, not necessarily in the calm way that you just did that. I had Mikey on the phone who does rapid response.
Yeah.
He was also articulating, you know, what they were doing was wrong. They smashed my back window to get me out. They then arrested me. And put me in their car while my car was being put on their total consistent way. And with regards to, I'm going after the police officers, and I also then took Marston's to court, but I actually had a document of basically what we all know, that it's all fraud, that they never had a warrant to take my car.
Yeah.
And I'd requested it from notices I'd done before.
Yeah.
And when in court, I spoke out about this document that came from Northampton County Court, saying they have themselves asked private bailiffs to stop putting Northampton County Court on their documents because it never sees the inside of Northampton County Court.
It's a business centre.
Yeah, it's just
Yeah.
the EEC,
Yeah.
which is the Traffic Enforcement Centre.
Yeah.
So if Northampton County Court realised that, and I'm telling them, I actually had this evidence, and they were saying it was done in Northampton County Court. I had an audio stating that none of my details were acknowledged in that court, and the judge still struck it out.
Yeah.
And so with regards to what you said, I'm in the process of going after the police officers, and I did the OPPC but they don't want to know. They're in each other's pockets.
Here's the way what you need to do in this thing is actually hit all 3 simultaneously, because what will happen is you'll find that the police are very happy to, if they've got a decent sergeant or a decent inspector, who will happily sort of sweep it under the carpet. However, if they swept it under the carpet and you've also approached CPS, right, and you've also raised a civil claim against them all at the same time, they're going to turn around and say, well, hang on a second, where's the other claim that you put in? Because it's listed here, and all of a sudden, whoever's tried to hide it is now getting exposed. Yeah? But the most important thing is, when a policeman or anyone is trying to arrest you or whatever, the first thing they're always going to be doing is making sure that they give you the correct caution.
And they didn't.
Yeah, I know, but what I'm saying is, that's the reason why if you give them the correct caution, and if you haven't done it correctly, you know, you've got a leg to stand on. If you do it correctly, right, and actually say the correct words, right, and do you understand, right, and it's videoed, right, then you're in a completely different situation. If they've got half a brain, they will actually start to acquiesce and walk away, or just, I don't know, we're just here to keep the peace, right. If they're stupid, you know, you're getting a nice holiday.
But you also asked them to be satisfied that there was a warrant.
Well, no, that makes a difference at the moment, because all they're there to do is to make sure that there is no there's no breach of the
There's
peace.
breach of the peace.
Yeah.
Also, in
Why
their
get them involved
capacity-
in the warrant?
Well, because they need to satisfy themselves
Hang
that
on.
they were going to act, which
Yeah.
they did then
Yeah.
carry on
Hang
and do.
What I'm saying is, once you found out that they're just there for the breach of the peace, right, then you can obviously start talking about the warrants and stuff with the person. If the bailiff can't produce a warrant, right, then what's he doing there?
Yeah, even when I asked for him to provide that
Sorry.
in court, he could never. But with regards to what they then twisted it, with regards to, it's a civil matter, you shouldn't be here, I'm not breaching the peace, I'm just sat calmly in my car, and they said, oh, you're obstructing the bailiff in his rightful duty.
Okay.
That's where I
Yeah.
am now the criminal.
Because,
sat in
yeah.
my own car.
However, that is a situation where they were acting outside the authority, but because there was no warrant, there's no warning or caution on them, they can do that because they haven't got any fear of doubt.
Yeah, Charles?
Sorry. Hi.
Personally, I know lots of ways to deal with a notice of intended prosecution for speeding, but I'd be very interested to hear what you recommend.
Speeding. Okay, well, basically, if I'm driving down the road and I see a policeman behind me, I slow down. What I'm saying is, no. What I mean by that is, if I'm doing 50 and a 30 for argument's sake, right, and they stop me, right, because they notice that I'm doing 50 and a 30, I'm caught bang to rights. There's not a great deal I can really.
Camera left.
No, I'm saying, I'm going through it, right? Then in that sort of situation, I don't have an issue. Right, now, if it had been caught on camera, well, my car is registered to the keeper is a company which is dormant. The owner is myself. Now, if someone wants to come round and, like they did, right, from the Cedar Group, and they turned around and said, well, there's a debt over here. I said, yeah, what's on the name? What's on that car? I said, okay, well, what's the name? Oh, it's in my company name, dormant company name. I said, okay, right, yeah, so, that's what you do as well. I'm going to clamp the car. I said, you can't clamp the car. I said, you can clamp it, but I'm going to fine you. Right, or we can get it towed. I said, you'll be fined again, but you can't do it anyway. And he said, why is that? And I said, well, basically because, right, you cannot take control under Schedule 12 of the Tribunal Union Courts Enforcement Act. You cannot take control of goods which are not owned by the debtor. If the company, which is a dormant company, is the debtor, right, and I'm the owner, it's got nothing to do with me. You can't touch my property. And that's it, job done. And he left with his tail between his legs.
And it's on video.
However, it was first thing in the morning, my hair was all over the place, and I was in a bathrobe, and that's not seen the light of day. But yeah, I mean, basically, sort of come away from the data buster side, but this is basically what we're doing at the moment, where we're sort of trying to head now. Okay. In fact, doorstep challenge basically is another one, which is if you haven't got the rights to be there because they haven't got the paperwork, and they don't actually own the deed of assignment, right? They've got no reason being there, right? In which case they're banging on your door. It's like, I look at it as, it's going to be a nice thing because you're there sitting at home chilling out, not doing anything in particular, and suddenly someone's knocking on the door saying, hi, do you mind if I give you some money in a few months' time? Right, because that's basically what they're doing. Or they writing to, sometimes they're not even knocking on your door, they're sending you a letter. Would you like to take some advantage of, being able to sue us? We're now going to be starting to look at this, right? The days of us running, hiding behind the curtains, is over. Now, as soon as you actually decide that you want this, and you decide that you want to jump on board, right, and take control of it, right, the better, right? You can do whatever you want to do, it's fine, right? It's not my place or anyone else's place to tell you what you should do, shouldn't do, whatever, right? But basically, those who are doing this and is looking to do this are actually starting to find they're more empowered with it, because they're actually starting to understand the rod that everyone's been beaten with, when you soon find out that the rod is nothing more than a bit of spaghetti. And it has no power. Right? That's all it is. Right,
Can I just ask, what is the time limit
There's difference.
going back?
So,
Like 5
of debts and things like that, you mean? Okay, if we're looking at something to do with, say, credit or something like that, normally you're looking at 6 years, because after that, obviously, CCJs, etc., all vanish. Yeah. Mortgages is a little bit different, because a mortgage, obviously, it's a longer thing and can still be enforced, right? Today's sort of thing. So if there's been issues with that, there can be a bit of leeway with that. Now, apparently there is rulings that if it is done via paper, you can go back 12 years. If it's done via sort of automated or computer-wise, it can be done sort of 6 years. I can't substantiate that because I don't deal with the paper side. I'll only be dealing with the computer side because of the way that we've set it up, right? So I don't know how true that is. That's only what I've been told, but I've never tried it. I've never experimented with that. So I would say that, you know, what we're looking at doing is everything within the last 6 years.
Right, okay, thank you. It's like we've got a member of our group, we run a weekly group,
Yeah.
and we support people with all sorts of issues.
Yeah.
And we've got a member who was pulled over by the police and enforcement agencies as he was trying to reverse off his drive. He'd got his severely disabled sister in the back of the car, his elderly father who's in his 80s with dementia in the passenger seat. Bailiffs turned up over a ULEZ fine that they ended up being £600 with fines. And the police came with them, blocked him in his drive with his disabled father and sister in the car. He wound down the window and told them that he was dealing with the local council because his car is actually claimed as low emissions, so he shouldn't have had a fine even though his car was 10 years old. They just automatically sent it out. So he told them he was speaking with the council over this matter. The police smashed his window in so he'd got cut. They forced open the door on the passenger side with his elderly father who was got his hand on the door, so he was injured and ended up having to go to hospital. Scared the life out of his disabled sister.
I'm surprised.
Who can't talk. She can't talk, she's in a wheelchair. So the police forced him to pay the £600 immediately there, even though he was saying there was already a dispute going on. So my husband and I got involved. We wrote to the actual car company to get a letter to say that his car was low emissions. We sent it off to the council and immediately got the £600 returned, and now we're supporting him with a court case against the police and the bailiffs have been there.
Got nothing to do with the police, yeah, big time.
So that's why I'm just wondering, it's all been within the last 12 months, that's why I'm just wondering how far we go back, because...
Have you got Willoughby Genius?
No, I'm just about to sell everyone on this.
Right.
You've got a lawyer in your pocket. It's freaking awesome.
Yeah, Willoughby Genius will write you letters to pretty much everyone, right? And the difference is, yes, it is AI. Now, however, bear in mind, first of all, just in case, I don't want you guys to feel that, you know, suddenly your toes are recovering and I haven't stood on them in a few minutes, right? Right, first of all, Willoughby Genius is the largest legal database, consumer legal database, right, in the world with over 750,000 legal entries, right? The brain behind it, Willoughby Genius, right, does not operate like ChatGPT, does not operate like Claude, etc. It is designed, because it's not a member of the bar, right, it is designed to have allegiance to the user only, right, and not being funny, but it kicks ass, big time. And anyone, speak to anyone in my group, right, who use it, or anyone who's not in the group, my group, but obviously use it or know of it, right, when you start looking at it, you'll actually realise how powerful it is, right? But certainly, what I would do is I'd definitely be looking at trying to get some decent meat on it, because the thing is, not being legally trained means that you're unaware of everything that they've actually, the rules that they've broken. And the only way that you've got to try and fight them is by speaking with someone who's in their gang, right? Because whether you're the prosecutor, prosecution, the on side, the defendant side, or the judge, they're all part of the same group, and you ain't in it, right? So what you want is you want something inside there, right, that can tell you everything that you can use against them, and that's where it's great. We've had stories from that where we had people who, only the other week in our meeting, someone was saying that they had 2 tickets overturned. Lady was saying about how she'd be able to see her grandchildren now again by the letters have been written, etc. Just come on board and join our Discord group and ask people, and they'll tell you what it's like, and then try it.
Right, thank you.
No worries. Sorry. You keep putting your hand up, I keep missing him. Sorry, Paul.
Yeah, I don't need the mic. I hear what you say, and I've heard a lot of other groups, and I know a lot of other groups offer something similar. I have 3 questions. How long is the course? Go on.
How long is it?
Yeah.
It is, okay, it's entirely up to you how long it takes you to do it. You work at your own speed.
Okay, so it's an online
Yeah.
AI. Okay, how much does it cost?
The cost itself is £250. Early birds pricing was on for £125. Right, that is now finished. However, if there's anyone from this group who does want it, we'll extend that the early bird pricing to you.
Okay, last question. Most people, and there are 69 million people in England alone, all struggling, all haven't got money, struggling a lot. Can you offer this service on a no-win, no-fee basis?
It is no win, no fee.
And you just said it just costs you.
No, that's to learn you're learning the system.
So can you use your system without having to do the course?
No, because you will get in trouble.
No, but you just said that you write the letters, etc., etc. So given that.
No, okay, you're talking about 2 different things. No, hang on. 2 things, right. Hang on, okay, Paul, hang on a sec. There's 2 questions, there's 2 issues there. Number 1, I was talking about Willoughby Genius, which is one app. Willoughby Data Busters, which is dealing with the training course, etc., is a totally different app.
But there's a price for that.
GDPR one.
To pay, you have to pay.
To do the training course, you do, yes.
Yeah.
Right, after the training course, right, once you've done the training course, to use the software, that's part and parcel of the Willoughby Genius app anyway.
Yeah, so what I'm talking about is people who might be struggling but need your service. Let me finish. Can you offer it as a no-win, no-fee? I just heard a lady say something there about credit card. Now, I only came across this literally yesterday.
Yeah.
The whole thing about the law is that you have to be honourable. And if you're coming out of the system, you have to be seen to be better than the system.
Yeah.
So this thing about the credit card, while I like the idea if you're involved in something that's corrupt, like I had my card taken off me, so I have no problem with that issue. But here's the thing, I have to be seen to be honourable under the law of equity.
Okay.
Now, under the law of equity, if I do something that I know is dishonest, like pay for something on a credit card, knowing that within 10 minutes of paying it, I can then go and reclaim it, as you know, it's done under duress and all that. I know all that stuff.
Yeah.
I get it. But to stand as a sovereign or sovereign, whatever the word, to be free from the system, you can't be seen to be breaking the law. And that, in theory, is breaking the law because you're going in with intent. Intent overrules form.
Okay, hang on, just a couple of points first. Hang on.
So this process, I love your process.
Yeah.
What I'm trying to say, how do we make this available for 69 million people?
Okay, hang on. Right, listen. First of all, when it comes to dealing with yourself, right? In other words, if you are a Willoughby Genius member, if you've done the course, you know what you're doing, etc. You're not going to get yourself into trouble, right? You've got full access to the Data Busters, which means you can do it for yourself. If you want to do it for others, right? So in other words, you want to go into the commercial side, right, and start taking on people, as in like trying to help them get through it, etc. All of those who you're helping is done on a no-win, no-fee basis, right, with regards to the claims. First of all, that's that. Second point is, right, once you've done the DSAR and you've got the answers, you've got the reply back from the company, the Willoughby will then analyse it, right, to see whether there are any breaches there, right. So if there's no breaches there, right, there is nothing to argue about, right. If there are breaches there, then you can actually pursue this. Now, basically, 90% of claims, because the way that the system works is that we do what is known as a PAL, which is a pre-action letter, which basically is sent out once we found out that Johnson's Limited or whatever has done this, that and the other to you. Right, we send out a pre-action letter which turns around and says, okay, you've broken GDPR rules on this, this, this and this by so many times, etc. And according to previous case laws and previous amounts awarded, right, in those cases, the figures were between 50 to 80 pounds or whatever it is, right, for those minimum maximum figures, right, for those awards. We're going in at, say, 60 pounds, right, and we're doing it per X amount, Y, Z amount of time for whatever is covered, right. We're also sending in that letter. The pre-action letter is going to be covering with the law, the case law, the amount of awards, and also the ICO legal sources letter, legal sources details as well. So basically, the company will then know that if they are going to court, they're basically going to be taken to the cleaners on that, right? Because you've actually proved it, that you've already proved the case. Now, in 90% of the case, what's happened that we found so far, right, has been that it's they've been settling outside of court. However, that figure can only be basically estimated by the ICO, because it's not gone to court, so there's no, and most people have already been asked to sign letters of NDA, etc., right, so that obviously the company's name isn't being dragged through the thing. Now, however, of the ones that are going to the court, of the 10%, right, between 50 to 75% of them, once the paperwork has been filed, right, are then being settled before the trial. And that can be tested because they've got rules, or not rules, they've got the records of what cases were filed, and obviously it was settled before the courts. So it's proved that point, right? And those are the figures which we've got from the ICO.
Thank you.
Now, if the people want to do it for their own, for their friends, etc., or they want to do it for someone and they don't want to charge, that's entirely up to them.
So my final question, are you prepared to travel around the UK talking about this? Yeah.
I am. I travelled nearly 2 hours today. In May I'm going up to the Newcastle. The other day I was in Kent.
So the reason why I'm asking, because I came down this with one purpose and one purpose only, because I've heard all this before, many times. I want people who have got genuine, honest, lawful solutions to the corruption, because it's all corrupt. Let's not get in that.
Yeah.
It's all corrupt.
Completely.
We've got to get the message out, and only having the odd meeting here and there, it will take us 1,000 years to get through to 90.
I understand 100%, and I'll tell you what, that's the reason why I love Maria and Gary for putting this thing together, because since then I've been talking to Mark, I've been down to Kent, right, I can't remember his name, the one in Kent. Ashford, the Ashford group,
yeah.
Right, went down there and did a talk. In May I'm also down in, Lisa, in,
just as a follow-up question to that, that's great. Anybody here who has a group and wants to hear this in their county, can I please give us your details? The reason why, because I organised Kale there myself. I organised a tour last year right throughout the whole UK and Ireland. We had over 35 venues over about 3 or 4 weeks, literally every day, every weekend. So I'm reorganising that for around about May, June. So I'd love to invite you. I'd love Cabby involved. I'd love, obviously I'm really tempted anyway. But it's about getting this message out.
Yeah, well the other thing is also, you're more than welcome. Anyone, you're welcome to join our Discord group as well, right? Because our Discord group, which is probably, it works differently obviously than your local groups, because your local groups are normally just local people, whereas we've had people in England, right, from Newcastle right the way down to the south coast. We've got people in Wales, Scotland, Ireland, America, Australia, New Zealand, Canada, right, in our group already, right? So we have meetings every Wednesday and 7 p.m. And it's on Zoom. So if you're a member of our group, you can get the Zoom details. Join in. Everyone's welcome. In fact, David was on last week before. He came over.
Before, yeah.
Yeah. So Sook's been on wherever he is. His chair is. You're all welcome, right? And the thing is, what we're looking to try and do is we're looking now that we've started, interacting with others. Right, we're looking to try and bring other groups in, right, and trying to get big. What I'd love to try and do, obviously, when he's got time, is get Mark on and start talking about his farmers, right, and just get other stories across. I mean, last week we were talking about Lisa and well-being retreat thing that she's trying to get organised as well. Yes. So by all means, you're more than welcome. I mean, other than that, it's me talking for 4 hours.
You can also watch videos, yeah.
I'll give you a card, right, and basically that will get us onto the Discord, etc. And you're more than welcome to it.
I just wanted to say.
Yeah.
Just wanted to say I'm videoing this as well, so share that with people. That's probably the easiest way to introduce
Did you get
something.
permission?
Yeah.
To capture.
It's on YouTube.
Can I ask? Did you get permission to capture, store?
No.
Included. You don't have it.
It's a public place.
They claim against you.
It's a public place. It's a public place.
It's all good.
Thank you.
Right. There's also on there. We've got Rumble channel, and we've got hundreds of videos on there, and you're welcome to have a look.
Yeah.
Sorry? But yeah, we try not to put too much on the WhatsApp because it's all confusing because it's only like one page, whereas with Discord we've got various subjects on each page, so it's easier to, people want to know about claiming your name, starting a company, doing a trademark, problems with energy bills, utility companies, etc. Every page is a different thing, is videos and everything as well. But you're more than welcome all to join.
Shout, I'm starving. No, shall we say, Charles ends on this, the wrong door to knock on. Charles's door is always open. He's the most kind, helpful man. For me, the fact that we finally have someone who can tame AI to work for us, as well as Goldie, actually, is awesome. This is like having a lawyer in your pocket. It's like carrying David Edelman all the time in your pocket, should you choose to take the challenge. But it's so empowering. And for me, the marketeer, this gives us the ability to reach the people. Because once they've got their money and they're kind of recognising wrongs being done to them, then we can really show them what wrongs have been done to them. And that's where we are, isn't it? So can we break for lunch? And it's the quickest lunch in the whole world. So it's 15, should we say 15 minutes? Is that okay? So we'll reconvene at 3, yes? Everybody happy?